Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bates Motel. And I can promise you, this is going to be one you're going to remember for a very, very long time. So buckle up your seatbelts here as we're now in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the only platform where all wrestling matters, and the platform that our guest, alongside Pro Wrestling Double X, Enterprise, and Amplified Pro Wrestling most certainly helped build. And boy, do we have a lot to talk about, especially in the world of Pro Wrestling Double X and Enterprise and Amplified Pro Wrestling. You might want to say we're going to have a little bit of a murder mania and an era of a new king. And our guest is, well, he's right in the middle of all of it. He's going to tell us why. He's going to talk about certainly the likes of Eric X Black. He's going to be seeing him. He's going to be teaming alongside him here coming up in 2.5 weeks. He's most certainly going to talk about two names that I am sure he has no love for, especially Mr. Kid Mike and Mr. Van Hansen. He'll also talk about one of their other partners who's been on this platform, who's coming back, Mr. Anton Nathan. He'll talk about, obviously, his own journey. He certainly will talk about maybe even his dad and maybe even that Enterprise and Amplified Pro Wrestling Hardcore Championship that he certainly has. Plus, who knows whatever else. But, we do things differently here on this platform. Now, I know that our guest, he's been around the block and the family name. He may or may not have seen these shows. But since I know we have a chat and he likes to do things a different way and we are in the Bates Motel, I like to certainly introduce people a lot differently than the usual. Well, it's nice to meet you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our guest here, Michael Bates. No, we do things, let's just say, Michael Buffer-like, or as I like to say recently, since I have, after all, been featured, not once but twice in the heavy metal version of Rolling Stone, blabbermouth.net, we do things, well, let's just say, more like Michael Buffer style, or in the words of Joe Elliott, the singer of Def Leppard, we like to get rocked here on Sportswire Radio. So, ladies and gentlemen, I see you here in the chat. He's looking at me like, what on earth is he talking about? So I'm going to show him exactly what I'm talking about here right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, as I just stated, let's get rocked. Ladies and gentlemen, let's start the week. Let's start the night here in style on Sportswire Radio, the number one global radio station where all wrestling matters. So with that, without further ado, here on the Sports Report, number one global sports show. We are certainly now corrupted. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce the reigning, defending, Enterprise Amplified Pro Wrestling Hardcore Champion of the World, Michael Bates. The champ is here, my friend. How are we doing?
Ugh. I'll say right now, if my name didn't already have such a sweet ring to it, you just took it to a whole new scale. That was, whew. Goosebumps all over.
Yeah, well, I had Rhino on here 2.5 months ago, and he said, "Boy, I was exhausted. I was worked up, ready to go after he heard my intro." Savio Vega, who only is responsible for the career of Stone Cold Steve Austin, said, "I've never seen anything like it." Then I had Doug Pinnick of King's X, who famously said here on this platform, "Your voice is going to sound like James Hetfield," and Mr. Pinnick himself only just opened for Tool 3 weeks ago, and on top of that, kicked off Woodstock '94, opened up for AC/DC on the Razor's Edge tour. Then I had Randy Jackson of Zebra, who was supposed to have been the American Robert Plant, and kind of looked at me like, huh? But obviously, enough of those pageantries. It is an absolute honor to have you. I've heard a lot about you over the last several months, and we'll certainly talk a lot about it. But for those that are listening and watching here in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the platform that you and most certainly Pro Wrestling XX, Enterprise, and Amplified Pro Wrestling most certainly help build, Sportswire Radio. Let's talk about coming up here this weekend. Pro Wrestling XX Murder Mania. We're in the Bates Motel, and tell us how exactly you're going to murder your opponents in that scramble match upcoming, my friend.
I'm not like most people where I just sit and have comrades. We can sit in the back and talk and be friends and eat cupcakes and sing little songs. I don't have that. Every time I'm in the back, as soon as my boots go on, I'm watching through that curtain every match that happens, not for the interest of the sport, but for the interest of who's got what weekend. And Mikey, Balla, Van, stand-up guys whenever it comes to being in that ring. Hell, I'll even say me and Ballers probably put on some of the most hardcore rivalry matches we've ever seen at EPW or Amplified.
Sure.
But every one of them's getting older, getting a little looser in some spots, falling apart. It's not about the numbers anymore. It's about who's the smartest one in the ring. And as I see it, I've already dissected all three of them in my mind. Now I just go in and make the cuts.
Interesting you said that, because you're absolutely right in one point, is that these opponents so well. I mean, certainly Hanson and Mike, you've been feuding with, quite a bit in the past. Corrupted, Riot City, obviously, when it comes to just your own career, you know exactly what to expect. You were practically born into this sport. So in a way, you must have such an advantage from your standpoint going into this weekend, because you know these opponents, and you could say, sure, I'm going to watch them, but you don't really need to watch the tape because, well, you've been in the ring with them so many times. You've seen them time and time again that this should be a walk in the park for you, figuratively and literally, this Saturday.
We can get a little personal with it, too. To the one person in that match I know better than anybody, and I know every move he likes. I know every little thing he wants to do. I know his bread and butter, and that's Kid Mike.
I knew you were going there. I knew that.
We kind of had a little bit of time growing up together. I mean, again, as a second gen, I've watched my father and his father put on Slugfest while we sat together, but that friendship, when it falls apart, that's all ammo for my gun. And, well, like my father used to say, I got a real big gun whenever it comes to Mikey.
Well, you know him better than anybody. I mean, that's surreal in a sense that basically you two, both second-generation wrestlers, both have been very successful in this sport. Both grew up with each other. I mean, figuratively and literally, you've seen it all. You've been outside the ring, and now here you are inside the ring. So, like you said, that is personal. That's kind of unique in a sense. I get a lot of different people come on the platform, whether it's people around the world, whether it's, we talked about musicians, but I really haven't had a situation like this one coming up. And you're going to see Mr. Mike 2 times here coming up in the next few weeks. And this is the first of those 2 times, and they're pretty significant matches. And being that it's this personal, I mean, that's just got to give you such motivation to come out and win this Enterprise Scramble match here.
The only thing I want most is to win the match. A lot of people don't know, this is my first time going to Jersey. And
Really?
I'm a big, extreme, hardcore fan. Hell, that's my bread and butter. Jersey's got a lot of attitude, and I think it's a perfect fit for Bates. So not only am I going down there with that in my mind and Mikey in my mind, but I gotta win just to say Bates came and Bates won.
Welcome to the Bates Motel. That's interesting. And I had a guest on a couple of days ago, a very well-known hardcore and deathmatch wrestler, the deathmatch juggler Brian White's been in Carnage Cup, IWA Deep South, defeated Jimmy Controversy, yada yada yada. And I was talking to him off the air, and he's coming to New Jersey, and it's a really big deal for him because he's from the South and he doesn't get a chance to come out here and wrestle this way. But you're a guy that was born into this sport. You're a guy that knows a lot of the history, and this is the first time coming up here this Saturday that you're wrestling in Jersey. There's such a wrestling history in Jersey. So what does that mean to you then to be able to step foot here this weekend for a place that you've long wanted to wrestle in for the first time?
It means more than you could ever know. Back when I was a little kid and I heard of my father running and doing the same things I'm doing now, I can always remember him talking about Jersey. That
Yeah.
was a spot that was very well and dear to his heart. And the fact that it's my first time, it means more than anything. I ain't into all the ooey gooey tears and all, but
Yeah, please
I might
don't,
have a
because my,
little
my
bit of a
guest on
smile.
Saturday, who again, hardcore deathmatch guy is, he's wrestled with the who's who of people, Necro Butcher, Little Sicko, and Jimmy Controversy, Kato. You can go to the list
Idols
of
of mine, true idols in the hardcore and
Nick
deathmatch scene.
Buckles. I mean, it's a long list of people, and he was crying on the air. So please do me a favor, don't cry here. But I don't think you'll have that problem here. But I mean, going to a place like this, and it's a really big show. Jason Knight's on the card. Certainly you get a lot of who's who of people that are on here. I mean, so what's the preparation then going into this weekend?
Eating a lot of salads, hitting weights. Nah. Best thing I can do is just what I always do: sit, watch tape, study, train, do everything I can to be the best I can be. Because I'm not a man that takes any match lightly. You could put me in there with an 120-pound, 5'5" kid, and I'd still take the match just as serious. So whenever it comes to this, I might even take it another step in seriousness just because of who I'm in the ring with and who's in that locker room that's going to be watching, where we're at. There's a lot of factors that's adding up to it, but just
Well, we're gonna
stay with
find
it, keep your
out.
mind in the game.
We're going to definitely find out. Let me put up the poster and the link to the Instagram page of Pro Wrestling Double X, because little known fact, I actually donated a ticket to this show. So I have a vested interest in this show. So I hope
Some
you
people are
join
going to
me.
get very lucky, whoever gets those tickets. They're going to
Well,
see a hell of a
unfortunately,
hard show in real life.
Jersey, I don't live that far from Jersey, but sadly, this is South Jersey, and I'm in New York City. So unfortunately, this is just a bit far for me, but I did want to, at the very least, donate a ticket. I know there's people here in the chat. We're going to get to everybody here. I know that there's some familiar faces here, but do me a favor. Go out there and please support our friends over at Pro Wrestling Double X. They've been so generous in giving us some opportunities here to cover some great wrestling, and this is going to be a huge part of here coming up in Glock Cluster, New Jersey. I have covered this venue so many times here over the past year and a half, and we have one of the 4 participants in the Enterprise Scramble match, the reigning defending Enterprise and Amplified Wrestling hardcore champion, Mr. Michael Bates. We are welcomed here at the Bates Hotel here, coming up with the Bates Motel, I should say. Hotel, motel, it doesn't make a difference, but we'll certainly talk about more of that here in a few minutes. Let me take this off the screen for now so I can see it. But, okay, so obviously big show, big locker room here coming up. I always ask this question to wrestlers here that are here for the first time with the year still starting. What's your goals for 2025?
Honestly, my new goal, and I right at the new year, I put this in my mind. I want to at least have 3 different hardcore belts by the end of this year, and I don't mean just anywhere that's willing to have the Bates. I will go and just do whatever I can to get me some more belts. I ain't much for shiny things. I never liked the gold and all the blitz, but maybe this one time I think I'm going to give it a shot to go a little bit further than what I already got.
That's a good thing that you said, because I've had a lot of hardcore wrestlers on. I've had the heavy hitters, and you're certainly right in that wheelhouse. But I don't think I've had anyone that's held 3 hardcore titles simultaneously. So that has to have been a first, because like I said, I've had Kato, I've had on Hardcore, I've had on Obey, I've had on Jesse Daniels, Jimmy Controversy's a personal friend. I can go on and on and on, but I don't think any of them or anybody I've had on in 6.5 years I'm doing this that have actually had 3 hardcore championships at the same time. That's a pretty unique feat there. It has to be a first.
A lot of people, whenever they want multiple belts, they try to take over a single, we'll say, company.
Yeah.
And they don't think, I'm not looking to take anything over. I'm just looking to make my footprint. I could give a damn if I run it or who runs it, honestly. I just like to know that whenever they need a true wrecking ball, I'm the man that comes up.
Oh, I could certainly see that you are that wrecking ball here. And I did want to ask, because I definitely want to transition to the 26th here in a few minutes, but I want to touch on April 12th again. I mentioned Jason Knight, who was the first proper ECW television champion that's on this bill here, and he's a man that I actually think he looks better now than when I watched him with the Impact players there, with Lance Storm and Just Incredible. And I mean, what's that going to be like being in a locker room with him? What's that going to be like? And do you plan to get a chance
to talk? It's going to be a lot. I won't lie. Growing up as a kid, like I said, my father was a hardcore guy, so I wasn't really into the mainstream wrestling. I liked the indies, the more pushed back, gritty wrestling. So ECW was a big staple in my household and just in my childhood. And sadly enough, since everything happened with it, I know that's somewhere I could never get to work. But being able to just share some time in the locker room, pick a little bit of his brain, and just, hell, maybe even have him watch my match, I'd be happy with that.
I think that why not? I mean, and it's funny you talk about ECW, because I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and that was the thing. I mean, I as a kid, I was a little kid, and I remember the last 2 years of ECW, and I religiously watched ECW.
Yep.
I wasn't supposed to have watched it, and I would stay up till 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, and I would watch it on the Nashville network at the time, and I was into it. I remember we had a public access television show here on cable. It was a radio station, and Rob Van Dam actually called into the radio station. So ECW, I certainly have an affinity for. But okay, so obviously we'll certainly see about that. But I want to talk about Kid Mike and Van Hansen for a minute. I want to go back to them because it'll tie into the 26th here. These guys have been on my platform on and off a lot over the last year and a half. Hansen's been on here more times than I can count, and Kid Mike has been on here almost as many times. It's got to mean something if you have that opportunity to knock one or even both of these guys down, especially because of the personal history that you have with both of these men. I mean, it goes back a couple of years. It goes back with you and Mike longer than that. And the irony of this match here coming up, think about this, right? I know we're going to talk about Enterprise and Amplified. I'm going to put that poster up. I'm sponsoring that show. We're going to go into that. But think about this, right? Murder Mania, big show here coming up in Glock Cluster. First time you're in Jersey. We mentioned Jason Knight. We got a whole slew of other big names out there. And you get a chance to win this scramble match. And on top of that, eliminate, let's just say, 2 people or even one of those 2 people that you have a long history with. And you certainly have a lot of bad blood with. Boy,
it just sounds so sweet, don't it? It just sounds like the perfect.
This writes itself. This writes it out. You're going to have a big crowd here. You're in a big environment. We just talked about Jason Knight. First time wrestling in New Jersey. We talked about the history, the South Jersey wrestling circuit. I've known about that since I'm a kid. And you're here, and you can knock off either Mike or Hansen or both of them. I mean, dude, what a moment.
As I see it, I feel almost worse for how the match is set up, because with all this shit that's building up in me and making me want to win and want to do what I do, it's almost, I would love beating them normally. I have no issue with that. that's just a normal day for me. But with all the things lining up, I almost have to go big for this one. I feel like I almost have to take that knob and go from 7 all the way up to 11. We'll find that extra one if we have to, but it's just goosebumps and shockwaves down my spine just thinking about it.
Yeah, yeah, it's so fascinating because also Mike and Hanson have had this interesting history here. You know, it was back and forth on the platform, and it's certainly been a topic. And I have no doubt that they're going to be back on here real soon. But before I do anything else, obviously our friend here has an Instagram page, and I see some different wrestlers are here. Some people that usually come onto my platform, and if you're here for the first time or not, do me a favor, go out there and go give a follow to Mr. Bates himself and check him out on Instagram. Give him a follow. And you can also see some of the stuff here. Obviously, that's the match poster, and you can check that out. That'll be the Enterprise Scramble match at Pro Wrestling Double X's Murder Mania. And get this, tickets are only $20 at the door. $15 was the pre-sale. And you're going to see, obviously, Balla, you're going to see Killer Mike, you're going to see Mike, Kid Mike, Van Hansen, Mr. V to the H, and obviously our guest here. We are welcomed and honored to be in the Bates Motel. Yeah, you said it. And maybe you could ride the bike to the show.
I mean, I should, honestly. Break out the old Harley.
I think you could. I think from distance-wise, I think you could.
Probably be cheaper on gas, honestly.
There you're going to go. But, yeah, definitely nice ride. But we'll take this off the screen. But we'll come back to that. But I do now want to transition. I'm going to put the poster up here for that in a minute because it ties into everything. April the 26th, an era of a new king. And you were living in that era. And you're a part of the main event here coming up. And you're alongside the owner of Enterprise Wrestling, Mr. Eric X Black. And you're going to be alongside him. And you're going to be facing off with some of the familiar names I just mentioned. And alongside a man that was on my platform, Mr. Anton Nathan, who maybe instead of picking fights with Gail Kim, may have to worry about you instead. And talk about what we can expect here. I am very excited about this show. I had Raina Black on here, by the way, a few weeks ago. I'm sure a lot of people have still talked about that.
I made sure to tune in for it.
I know. That's why I had a feeling this was going to kind of be connected because obviously we definitely work with Enterprise and Amplified. So what can we expect here coming up here on April the 26th in an era of a new king?
They've messed up to a whole new extent when they accepted the match because as much as I respect Mikey, Van, Antoine, or the little SoundCloud guy, and Ball.
Oh, you know, apparently. Oh, you know.
I know a little bit. I've heard. I've been around the block once or twice. We'll say that. But with how the match is set up, they're tremendous wrestlers. All 4 of them. They're just amazing athletes. Ball, I'll leave out of this because, again, we've had some of the bloodiest matches, but they're stepping in.
Him in 2 weeks. Just spoke about him. We're going to see him on Saturday, so, it's kind of been there, done that.
With the other 3, they're stepping into a whole new domain that they're not very comfortable with. They're not very familiar with. See, with the little corrupted group we have, all of us have purpose. There's no fighting. There's no bickering of who is doing what. We know. See, you got Eric Black, who is a tremendous, high action-packed wrestler, hard-hitting, phenomenal.
No question.
You got Killjoy. I'm just going to say he's my own little brainchild. I love him. He has so much potential, just a true underdog of the group.
Okay.
You got Corrupted Silva. Now, he is such quick to learn. He's been following me for a little bit. And, I respect any boy that looks at what I do and says, I want to learn to do that. I'm all for it. So he has so much potential, and he has drive and heart, even if sometimes it's not in the right spot. And then you got me, a true butcher in the ring. I don't even consider myself a professional wrestler. I'm just a killer in there. I'm someone paid to hurt you.
Wow.
That's my whole motive behind this. It isn't always to win, it's to hurt. So in this match we're doing, all of us are coming in as a unit to hurt. to get whatever we can get our hands on and beat them, to cut them, to throw them into whatever we can do. We are more than willing to push the card as far as we can. But for those three men, are they willing to go that extra mile and do what it takes to be violent and not have any care for the human condition and health just so you can win?
Okay, now fair points, but could you also say that for them it's backs against the wall? We know that Eric won full control of the company, has both world titles, and for them, even though Hanson and Mike have had an up and down history of late, but it's almost backs against the wall for them. This is literally the era of a new king. So basically, this is almost a now or never moment for them. If you guys win here in 2 weeks, I mean, what could we really say, especially about Kid Mike and Van Hansen going forward? I mean, what could we really say about them? So to me, I mean, this is more about them and that their backs are against the wall. What's your thoughts on that?
See, right now, they are quartered. They're in that spot to where they have to win, because if they don't, we've proven our point. We're the ones that run it. We're the ones that have control. And see, that's a weird thing to think about. Whenever they controlled it for how long, they had the power, they were the fans' idols. And to watch them come out and lose and just be broken in front of the fans that cheered so hard and worked so hard and wanted so hard for them to win, it's devastating. So their backs are in a corner to where if they don't win, we win more than they'll ever know.
And I think also, especially with the main event, Reina was here a couple weeks ago, and obviously, there was some chatter, and obviously there are people out there that feel that the outcome of that was unfair. So they're going to have that also on top as motivation. And Reina, obviously talked a bit about what Eric will do with the company. So really, you can go back and saying, well, is this going to be a fair contest? So from their vantage point, should they be worried about that, or what's your thoughts on
We're
that?
always fair.
Yeah.
We don't ever do anything to give us the edge or boost our stats a little bit. We never do that.
No.
See, as far as what people think of us, they think we're so terrible and we just do whatever we can to win. We don't. What happened with Black winning the company, there was no cheating. There was nothing with that. That was a solid win.
Okay. Well, I mean, there was people that I guess maybe thought that maybe it should have been a different outcome, and obviously it wasn't. And I do agree to
If
some
people
extent.
don't get the fairy tale endings they want after
True.
reading a whole story, let's say Hansel and Gretel, for instance.
Okay.
What if right at the ending, the witch just burned them both in the oven? Nobody would enjoy it. Everyone would hate that story. But because the two little fat kids get away and the big bad witch is killed, everyone loves it. They get their fairy tale ending. Well, this is the real world. I don't know about you. I don't see witches running around.
Well,
we don't get fairy tale endings.
Yeah, I mean, if
true.
you're okay, all right. So I agree to some extent, but there was a long history that Kid Mike and Eric X Black had, and obviously we see them now, on two certainly opposite ends now. And what's your opinion on that?
I think Eric had to do what he had to do. At some point,
what about the attack? You were you played a big role in that.
Oh, I'm just an enforcer. I'm just the guy that if you say there's too many chiefs and not enough Indians, I'm real quick to be an Indian. I don't need to make all the big plays and moves. I know I'm better a soldier. So really, I just do as I'm told. And as far as with Eric and Mikey, that's something that's had to been done. Hate to say Mikey's a weak link. Eric noticed and dropped. And then when he saw some options open up after doing that, he was a smart man and took them. More people could learn from that. You don't always just have to wear a fake smile and just do what people want you to do.
Well, that
There's plenty
technically
of
that
options.
partially right, as we're here with Michael Bates, of course, the Enterprise and Amplified Pro Wrestling Hardcore Champion. He's going to be in action here coming up in the Enterprise Scramble match here this Saturday. Pro Wrestling Double X Murder Mania show in Gloucester, New Jersey. We're sponsoring that show. Already bought a ticket. We're also supporting this show here coming up on the 26th of April. It's going to be an Era of a New King here in the main event. It's going to be a street fight. It's going to be Kid Mike, Van Hansen, Ball, and Anton Nathan. Yes, Anton Nathan. And I know he's not calling out Gail Kim here in this match, but he's going to certainly want to give a phone call to Killjoy,
Did he
Corrupt
fight
Silver.
Gail Kim, or what happened? What's the story there?
So the
I'll
story,
go down there.
all right. So I knew this was going to come up here. So the story was a few months back, Robert Irvine was doing a meet and greet, and Anton Nathan goes up to Robert Irvine and says that Anton wants a match with Gail Kim. And, and Robert, was like, that's my wife. You sure you want that? And it was like, he's been going around on social media other than maybe being a part of this match. And he said it here on this platform, quite a bit, that he wants a match with Gail Kim. Now, maybe since Gail Kim is no longer a part of Impact Wrestling, maybe, since Mr. Black is a successful businessman, maybe he could sign Gail Kim. And maybe from your guys' vantage point, Gail Kim will put Anton Nathan out of his misery and you'll have one less person to worry about. I guess if that was what the businessman of Mr. Eric X Blacks would do, or maybe it's just he doesn't see any worth in that.
I've heard some crazy stuff. That's mind-boggling for a man to call a woman out. That's crazy, but
Well, it's Gail. I mean, Gail Kim. He was making a name for himself.
If Gail could beat him up, I might have to talk to Eric, the owner of the company, and see if we can't make something happen with that.
You know what? Nothing would surprise me at this point. Nothing would surprise me. And already, Eric, it's funny. Raina did talk about that. We have a new poster. The poster looks good, and we've talked about some cosmetic things. And are you happy so far now that Eric is running the company so far? Or you feel better about the company?
10,000%.
Why?
I know well, I feel like I'm his favorite, that I'm taken care of. As long as I do what needs done, I'm golden. Mm-hmm. See, I'm sitting there with the president of the company beside me, and all I have to do is stand there like a wall and make sure he's fine. And then for that, I get any matches I want. I get a little bit of pull behind the scenes. I think that's a good deal. I mean,
yeah. I mean,
you can almost say the company's getting a little corrupted.
Well, from your vantage point, that's something that should have happened a while ago, because you've obviously had quite a history with Mr. Mike and Mr. Hansen. So maybe that should have happened months or years ago, and maybe the company wouldn't have been in the position that it's in, I guess, from your vantage point, I would say.
If Eric keeps running it, we're already one of the better companies in the area. If Eric keeps running it, we're going to the best. We might even compete with the WW place. But I mean, with Eric there, I got full confidence the sky's the limit, because you got to have a good boss to make the company work.
Well, I think obviously we're going to certainly find out, and I'm looking forward to covering the show the next few weeks on Sportswire. I'm very excited about that, but I do want to give a plug to Amplified Enterprise before I do get to the chat, because the chat wants to talk to you, and they're waiting, and I want to give the chat an opportunity. Before I do that here, Amplified Enterprise Pro Wrestling coverage. Check out the YouTube channel. You can check out some of the matches from the past, some of the shows, and you can stay up to date with them on Facebook. Unfortunately, I'm locked out of Facebook on my laptop. Long story, 2+ years. I still can't get in. But in the meantime, go give a sub to Amplified Enterprise Pro Wrestling. They've got over 1,000 subs, a lot of content, a lot of stuff from Mr. Bates. And we'll put some of that footage up here in a few minutes, because I was reminding him of something in the past, and I want to get his vantage point on it. He may or may not want to come back after this, but I hope he will. But I'll give him something in a little while that'll certainly maybe make him feel like he can stay on Sportswire. But hit us up for that. We'll take this off. We'll come back to it. Let's get to the chat, because a lot of people now want to talk to you. you. Zilla is our first comment. She's our resident chat expert. She's our super fan, and she'd like to say hello. And I was talking to you about this guy off the air. There's this guy Chase Wakefield. Now, Eric X Black is a part of his thing, the Chase Wakefield Wedding Invitational. He's in the state of Pennsylvania. He's obviously been on an Amplified Enterprise show in the past. He's excited for this one. Now, this guy is getting married here in a few months. He's having a big wrestling super show. Might promise to be the biggest one in history. And what's your thoughts on that? Obviously, you being a second-generation wrestler, you knowing this sport as better as anybody I could think of that's been here. And this guy wants to get married and have a wrestling super show at the same time. And what's your thoughts? And shouldn't you be added to the card?
I think that's pretty amazing. That's probably, I can speak for multiple wrestlers probably when I say this. That's a dream wedding. And whoever girl he found, she's got herself a keeper.
And guess what? You know what? And guess what? She wants to do this more than him. She wants to do this more than him. I kid you not.
Is she a wrestler too? Does she wrestle?
No, she doesn't wrestle. She doesn't wrestle, but she wants to do this more than him. I'm telling you, because he comes on here every month. He's one of my usuals. He's a guy. He and I talk off the air about other things, non-wrestling related, and he found somebody that wants to do this more than him.
That's pretty cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. If you ever need any workers, if there's some spots open.
Well, listen, I think with your name and Mr. Black being on the card and, Mr. Mike being there and everybody else that I'm sure you have, many relationships. Dan Stofko's there. There's a lot of usuals that So I would imagine that Mr. Wakefield's going to make an announcement here saying you're on the card, especially after these words of a ringing endorsement you just gave. Yeah, he's we like Chase, but thank you, Chase. We'll come back to him in a minute. Thank you. I said hello to everybody. And speaking of second generation wrestlers that you've certainly shared some cards with, what's your thoughts on this guy? Another guy that's on the Chase Wakefield Wedding Invitational, and a guy that's definitely really going places these last several months. Mr. Ace Christian, the Blaze.
I hate a lot of people. I'm not really a people person, but me and Ace have spent a couple times in the locker rooms kind of stuck beside each other, and I will say he's a dear friend of mine. I do like the boy. He's a great wrestler, great athlete. Different styles of wrestling. I will say we both have different styles, but I can look at him any day and say I respect his style. I respect his work. And we've been on a couple cards. We tore the house down a couple times at a couple places, and he's always a pleasure.
Amplified Enterprise, you guys have been on a few of the shows. Yes. He's definitely going places, but obviously there's somebody here that would like to say something that I know you will not be very happy with, so I'll put it up here. And I think I know who this is, actually, but we'll just say it's somebody that knows somebody that you're going to be in a show with.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody who knows. Yeah, I don't do things like other podcasters because I know like Mike and Hanson have been on these other podcasts with those other wankers and they don't know anything about them. So I'm just going to say it. This is a guy that knows somebody that you might be on a show with or a card match, and he called you a paper champion. Now, I know that you're not technically a paper champion because you have the physical belt with you.
I will say for a paper champion, I think I have to look at my exact dates right, but I'm pretty sure it's between 2 and 3 months more. And I've been hardcore champion for just about a year. Give me those 3 months. There's a year of champion. And I mean, for a paper champ, no one's came and taken it yet. It still sits right in my little room.
Wow. In the Bates Motel.
The one and only.
Well, I could see that. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I knew it wasn't a paper champ, and he's obviously definitely, let's just say, tuning in with eager anticipation. I want to say hello to my buddy who was here over the weekend, Mr. Darkron himself, the host of the Dark Chronicles, the Underground OG, one of my favorites. He says hello, and also that same person wants to tell you that you suck.
Whatever gets you further in the company. I've learned that from a couple of the guys in the back of the locker room. The only difference is I've yet to get on my knees and open my mouth to get anywhere I've been.
Well, I'm going to leave that at that. But speaking of another person that has something to say to you, a man that has been here many times, and he said, Bates, and Bates.
it has a good ring to it. It's great. I love hearing my own name. It makes me happy.
Well, you're going to hear a lot of your name here over the next 10 minutes in comments because I got plenty of them. But give Pro Wrestling Double X a follow on Instagram. We'd appreciate that. And going back to the 26th, I knew this would be a topic. Mr. Mike would like to say, I will show you what hardcore is on the 26th.
I'm hoping because see, I don't want a little vanilla basic match. I mean, take me to the limits. The reason I love hardcore so much is because you can remember every match by marks left on you.
Yeah, I've
The
heard that.
easiest way for people to remember is through pain, through the marks it leaves and the story it tells.
It's a
As
good
long as
point.
it's a good fight, that's all I care about.
That's a good point. Now, listen, it's a good point. Want to say hello to my friends in the great state of Florida. Hello there from FBW and Mr. The Backyard Wrestling Nexus, Mr. Ultimate Gamer 2.0 in my Discord chat. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope that you enjoy the show and somebody else that'll have some words to say. Just wait for that. Mr. Moore himself, well, just stay tuned for some other words, but leave that at that. But he says, "What's up?" He said, "I think he meant to say what's up." I know what he meant to say, but that's not the comment we'll get to yet. Speaking of people that are in the great state of Alabama, hope he's safe from the hurricanes and all the tornadoes. Mr. James Taylor, how you doing, James? And yeah, see what I mean? I kind of was leading to that, but Killjoy is here, and I got Mad Dog Dan Moore's phone, and with an evil laugh. And yeah, I could see that.
I love it. See,
Yep.
that's the issue with Killjoy. He kind of, I really didn't go into details with it, but something with his throat. Like he can grunt, but as far as talking, it's a lot of text to speech. And let me just say, when his phone dies, it's a shit show. You can't understand a thing he says. It's just
I'm
grunts
going
and
to say
moans.
no comment, but thank you so much for tuning in tonight. How about that? If you want to follow Mr. Bates on Instagram, give him a follow. And he does want to put in hashtag Bates is going to kill you. Bates is going to kill you. Bates is going to kill you. And Mr. Mike would like to say, oh, I know hardcore. We bleed together before. We can do it again. Do you want to bleed with him coming up on the 12th and the
Yeah,
26th? Or, nah. You do?
yeah.
All right.
That's as much as I hate to say, if you're a respectable opponent, if you're somebody that can stand in the ring and do that,
Mhm.
I want to get as bloody as we can. I want to take it as far as we can. With every opponent I find, I want to push the limits and keep crossing lines.
Well, we got a lot more comments to get to, so we'll go and get to them. Yeah. And not if this clown can get to you first, Mikey. Well, yeah, we'll move on. We definitely don't. Yeah, we know that. We know that. We know it's somebody named Killjoy, and Raina's not here, but you can say hello to Raina. I mean, I don't know if Raina's here unless I'm missing the comments, but yes, hello there to Killjoy. And by the way, weak link question mark. Who's your trainer? Question mark. You got jokes. Yeah.
See, I can respect that because he's been showing me a lot. I've learned a lot. But as a second gen man, I've learned since I could walk. I've been taking notes and catching lessons on beatings since 12 years old.
And yeah, I put up footage from last year to show some of the audience the history there. But there you go. Let's get back to some more comments. Well, in the meantime, little Michael Bates must have forgot that I won my match against his sorry self last show.
It would have been better though if it would have been for the belt. But it sounds like you won the match that wasn't for the belt, but I won the match for the belt. It's kind of like comparing apples and oranges, really.
And cover your face here. Cover your face. But we'll go to the next comment here. But we're watching the match, and if you want to follow Amplified, check out Amplified on YouTube. And James is laughing. James is obviously saying he's not. I don't think he's. I think he's trying to be in character, but I don't know. Let's get back here to some more comments. Thank you, James, for the humor. Why? This is what Zilla wants to say. All right, here's a good one. why do you guys in the chat think that Michael Bates sucks? Because I don't think that the Enterprise and the Amplified Wrestling Hardcore Champion Michael Bates sucks, because Michael Bates is awesome and amazing and cool. So what would you like to say toward that, sir?
At least somebody's got some good taste. At least somebody here has enough common sense to know what a true champion looks like and what a true champion is. It's really self-assuring and nice to hear. Honestly, you don't get that much anymore.
Zilla is certainly one of our regulars here in the chat, but I think this is a person here that obviously you might want to hear what they have to say. And fair warning, what I tell you about your alligator mouth, don't let it get that chicken ass taught a lesson from an OG Sonny Buckers. I think we know who this is, but we'll let the audience tie two and two together. But
Yeah, we'll let it linger for a little bit.
what? No comment. Move on.
I mean, look, that's how we do a Saturday night dinner. It gets a little rough in the household. Let's just say at the Bates Motel, not everything was the nicest love and affection, but I was toughened up.
Yeah, well, definitely no song and emotion there, but that's a different song. But yes, thank you to our friends in Blood and Honor Wrestling. It's an awesome platform for backyard and all wrestling. That's all wrestling matters, and thank you very much for that. Let's get to my next comment from a man that you'll be seeing quite a bit here, and but it was the match that at the show after our street fight. It's you and me for the hardcore title, and you will not walk out with that belt.
So, see, that might be news to me? Is this?
I guess apparently as Eric X
I think we just got a deep scoop.
Well, apparently, I guess you never know what you learn here on Sportswire Radio.
Yeah, honestly.
An individual.
I think it's going to be some fun, and I really, really doubt you're going to leave with it. But I respect the comments. Keep them coming.
Oh, I'm sure that will get him here. And, I did want to remind you. And obviously, yeah, clown comment here. Thank you for that. But I did want to remind you of this moment here in the battle royal, because I still am trying to figure out what on earth it happened here. We'll get to that in a minute or two. And what's your thoughts on some of this? Because
that's honestly was one of my favorite battle royals to date.
Really? Why?
It honestly was. Why? If you watch, I was a psychopath in that one. I don't know if it was just
you did very well.
but I was upset and I showed it.
No, you did. You did well in it, but I was just trying to still figure out just what one of your opponents in here was like basically powering up here, Power Ranger style, and I thought that was, to me, like, this is an example of it. I mean, just how do you explain this?
You see some of the craziest things in wrestling, and there's times where I will even have to stop, like I did right there, and just really think to myself, like, am I seeing this? Is this a legit thing? And then, of course, you snap back and you just go back to punching them in the face. But, I mean, at least for that moment, you had to compose yourself.
Yeah, there is that, and then there was that. I don't know if I've seen anything like that before. I mean, I've had one UK wrestler come on my platform and did the Hadouken, but it didn't really resonate like this. I mean, where we had just power-ups in ways I never.
Was a lot. Honestly, I was more scared that he was going to try a shout or something. So once he got so far, it's like, I got to cut you off. We got to stop this before you power up.
And you're a hardcore wrestler saying that, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen what some of those shouts can do. They're no joke. They're nothing you want to be a part of.
Well, okay, but if you, while we're watching this for a few more minutes, and I'll come back to something else, you can definitely go watch more content on Amplified Wrestling's YouTube page. Also, check out the Facebook page if you want to buy a ticket to the show, if you want to get in touch with Mr. Eric X Black, and you'll find out more of the matches announced on the card here coming up. It is an era of a new king, and one of those matches here that we can confirm for sure, it's going to be a street fight and the main event, and one of those participants on Eric X Black's team is here with us, the Enterprise and Amplified Pro Wrestling Hardcore Champion, Mr. Michael Bates himself. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice, figuratively and literally, where all wrestling matters. But yes, obviously, you've done very well here in this, and obviously, I still can't figure out your opponent there. But
If you watch a couple minutes back, I think he tried the same thing in a corner, but the other guy didn't. At least I was nice. I let him power up. The other guy just completely cut him off. Didn't even let him do it.
Yeah, I think it's
That was
somewhere.
rude.
Yeah, well, well, I think well, I don't know if it was that point you referenced, but it was definitely different. I guess it was definitely different. Let's just put it that way. But yeah,
I wonder if that's a new style of fighting. If that's like, do we have to classify that as its own thing now, or?
I know it's 2025, but I don't know if that's the style. But we'll see. Obviously, yeah, you let him go, and he went outside, and then yeah, we saw.
Look, when you see the magic around him, that's how you know you should just let him do his thing out there. You don't know what's coming next.
All right, so let's go back to Eric as owner. I don't know if Eric, as the operator of the company, is going to allow things or charades like this to go on again.
I'm gonna try to put in a good word for the kid, but I mean, it's an what is it? Exquisite taste. It's an acquired taste.
I just heard a wrestler last week, the gentleman of exquisite caliber, Godric Sandwell, come on. You used the word exquisite there, but yeah, this was definitely an exquisite battle royal. Let's just put it that way. But let me get to some more comments. But let's go with this. I am proud of my little hardcore Eminem. Love you, boy. Kick their ass. Didn't know that you resembled Eminem, but
I get called. Come to a show and just hear half what these disrespectful brats and their like obese parents call me. It's sickening. It really is. You hear so much stuff, and even the children sometimes vulgar things, and it's like,
Well,
I don't feel bad now for beating up your idol.
Well, my guest that interrupted last night's guest, Sean Jovi, Omen Black, the IMF champion in Iowa. I mean, he's had little kids like curse him out with profanities, and only reason I can say that because he told me that off the air, and I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, I guess fans have their own opinions, but I guess maybe it motivates you. I don't know.
Honestly, I could give a rat's ass what they think of me. I just go out there and just the only thing that does matter, I will say, is the ruder they are and the more they cheer for somebody, I dislike that. So then they're extending the beating the person's getting. It's they don't understand that they're fueling the fire that they're building.
Well, we're in the fire right now. Let me get to some more comments. I'll take this off the screen, and you will all see more than just the clown on the 26th. Going back there to the 26th. Going back there,
He stole that phone for a good minute. I wonder where he's at.
You know what? That's an interesting question. I mean, that's but let me ask you though something else on the 26th from it. Do you think Johnny Walker will be in attendance? Do you think he'll be there in the venue? Do you think he'll be allowed to show up? No. I had to ask. Famously, Johnny and Eric had one of the more memorable segments here on Sportswire Radio, certainly this year. And I had to ask you, just from afar, do you think Johnny will be in attendance on the 26th?
Hopefully, I haven't spoken with Eric in a couple days, but that's a new question that has to be brought up. But I don't think he should be there, especially after everything that's happened. I mean, out with the old, in with the new. We might as well just let him sit at home, catch it on tape. But knowing Johnny, he'll try anything he can to make an appearance.
Well, I mean, he can't help himself. He's been in the game a long time. And, we were talking about this last night on Sportswire, and this came up in Johnny's segment with Eric, that maybe veterans, they don't know when to call it quits, or they don't know when to, move on. And maybe from your guys' vantage point, that Johnny, he has nothing better to do on the 26th, and he may just show up. I don't know.
Sometimes the old horses at the racetrack got to realize that there's new, faster Mustangs coming around, and they just can't keep up.
I did want to ask you, something else on Eric's, lead here in the company. Do you want any wrestlers to have been fired. I asked Raina about Kid, Mike, and Van Hansen. Van thought he would be safe because we obviously know he runs the other half of the Enterprise Amplified company, but Mike here still has a job, and Raina talked about that Eric has been generous so far, and running the company. And do you think that Eric should have removed anybody off the roster or any sorts? I mean, objectively speaking, what do you think on that?
First off, Dan Moore's gone. He should have been gone a long time ago. He's an annoying thorn in your side. Gone.
Uh-huh.
Besides that, I would say Bala, but I don't want to do that to him. I think we should keep him. He can be the little mascot of the company. Put him up in a nice little costume or something. That'd be pretty cool. Him and Johnny. We could do a two-piecer costume.
Okay, all right. Well, that's okay. I mean, we'll certainly, I'm sure, get some ideas here over the next couple of weeks, but we'll have to see. But I do have something for you before I move on to a few other things. I know you're a busy man. You've got obviously 2 shows here coming up in the next 2 weeks, and we're excited, obviously, to be supporting both shows. And after all, I think it's a better bet to support pro wrestling shows than investing in the stock market right now. So I'll leave, people's thoughts on that. But I do have something for you, which I most certainly would like you to see. So I'm going to put it up here because for those that are listening and watching here on Sportswire Radio in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, it is officially now Michael Bates Day on all of my platforms. Instagram, TikTok, Tumblr, Facebook, YouTube, via the Listen Live button on sportswireradio.org, X, wherever I am on social media, LinkedIn even. Yes, I have a LinkedIn. It is your day. I promised I'd give you something, and congratulations.
I'm honored. Yep. I'm honestly honored.
Well, I appreciate
a holiday finally worth celebrating.
Well, you got the Hardcore Championship. I mean, you got the Hardcore title. That's worth to celebrate, but speaking of people that are from your state, I do want to say hello to my buddy, Mr. Colton Lee, the Heartless Sheriff, who wants to say good evening to him. And he and I were speaking off the air, and he will be returning to the platform soon now that he watched Alexander Ovechkin get 895 goals. Thank you for that. But I did want to ask you, what does it mean to you before I get to another comment? What does it mean to you to be the Enterprise and Amplified Pro Wrestling's Hardcore Champion?
It means a lot. Again, growing up with my father and all, it was always something I wanted to do. I was always pushed away from the hardcore scene. A lot of people wanted me to do like the normal, just pro wrestling, fast-paced, traditional. But something always pushed me towards hardcore. And when I did it and I'm good at it, it's something that just, I guess you could say, carried on in those genes. But it means a lot, honestly. It's something that I've wanted for a long time, and then the day I got handed it after the match, it broke me a little bit, but it was something I held up high, and I earned it. I went through all my dues and did everything I could, and it just finally felt like I got somewhere. I finally made it somewhere.
Yeah, I definitely think that holding a championship of any sorts is certainly an honor and a responsibility, and I think that you've definitely earned those things. And being a second generation wrestler, I mean, I've had on different people in the past, but I mean, is it pressure for you being a second generation wrestler? Has there ever been any pressure, or even now to this day, any pressure?
It gets easier as you go, because when you first start, especially as a second gen, you're almost expected to be a junior, and then as you go and you build your own path, you can embrace and use and a lot of that second gen. But it's nice to hear them say, "Oh, you did it, you went there." So but pressure wise, when I first got started in the violence, I feel like a lot of people didn't think I would hold up and be as violent as my father. Until we got into it, and it became something of, oh my God, he's him turned up a little bit. He's trying to push the limits. And my dad, he made the line in the sand. I'm walking 10 feet past it and drawing another one and say, this is where I can.
That's an interesting Interesting analogy. I want to get to something else before that, though. I want to get to somebody you know very well. No pressure. He's already surpassed me. I'm proud of him. Well, that's a compliment, but I don't think you're going to get a compliment here from this fellow. And I want to get your
I'm
thoughts on this.
unbelievable.
How about you talk to your boss and the show in May that will be going on? How about I put my career on the line against you to make this even better? Title versus career. It's a
I think that is
big.
a phenomenal idea. See,
Mhm.
Balla, you're not a smart man. I get that, but holy hell, did you just come up? I could hear that light bulb pop on top of your head all the way over here. I'm going to make a text right after this. And I mean, as soon as this camera goes off, I'm picking that phone up. I'm doing a couple messages, and I'm going to make that happen. I feel like I'm more upset I didn't come up with this idea, but I'll give
Well,
credit where it's due, I suppose.
well, I'll tell you what. I'm even gonna up the ante a little bit here because obviously I see this comment here and you're responding to it. When we're off the air, when in a little while we're gonna be off in a little while, I will make sure that this standalone soundbite, this segment of it, it'll be up on Instagram, it'll be up on Facebook, it'll be up on TikTok. So maybe the general audience that didn't get a chance to tune in can hear that. And maybe since you want it, and obviously the man here wants it, maybe the people will get it here next month.
I'm not one to please the fans, but with this, I guess I just will. I'll give them what they want, even though, like we said earlier, this ain't a fairy tale. You're going
No.
to end the match and walk into the sunset with your tail tucked between your legs. And I'm going to be standing in the middle of the ring, like always, hardcore champion. It's
Well,
not.
I'll tell you what. Right now, Michael Bates, we are in the Bates Motel, but it sounds like things could get really interesting here next month because could we potentially see a title versus career match? Could we see it Balla versus Michael Bates? Title versus career? Well, you'll have to find out. You'll have to stay tuned. You'll certainly have to stay tuned to Enterprise and Amplified Pro Wrestling social media pages. You can stay tuned here to us. And yeah, that sounds like that could be something maybe that if the
That's a
powers
whole
that
headline right there by itself of
I
why
tell
you
you
need to push
what,
it to that
and that's
show.
a match I want to be talking about. I'm sure the people who are going to be going over there to watch that show, they're going to want to see it, and we'll see what the powers that be have to say about it. And as you said, you'll give a text to the person that can make that happen, and we'll have to find out. And stay tuned. And I did want to ask you then. So before this coming Saturday, do you have any final words for, well, one aforementioned name and two other names that are always mentioned between you, and that's Mr. Mike and Mr. Hanson in the Enterprise Scramble match? Do you have any final words before that for this Saturday?
I ain't gonna really go hard or real far into details, but
Yeah, don't do that here because your opponents will
I'm
be
gonna
listening.
walk out. I'm gonna punch them in the face. I'm gonna go to the next one, punch him in the face, and I'm gonna repeat that cycle till they're all on their backs, and I'll pile them up, and I'll win. It's not rocket science. I'm gonna go out, beat the hell out of them, and leave. And I don't know. I might even sightsee while I'm down there. I might even have to try to make it a quick match. I might go look around and see a couple of the sites.
Yeah, you could. South Jersey. Yeah, you could. You could. Weekend weather's, I don't know what the weather will be like, but yeah, you could do that. I mean, but I'll tell you what I will be doing though. I'll certainly be talking a lot about here coming up this Enterprise Scramble match here. It's an eliminator qualifier match, and we're going to see here in it Mr. Kid Mike himself, Mr. J Ball, Mr. V to the H Van Hansen, and of course the man that is here right now, the Enterprise and Amplified Pro Wrestling's hardcore champion, Mr. Michael Bates. So definitely stay tuned to Pro Wrestling Double X's social medias. And James Taylor saying, he's interested in Enterprise, but if he can do that, yeah, we'll definitely let you get in touch with the owner of the company. I'll definitely get in touch with you off the air, and who really knows? But we'll obviously see what happens there. But give me then final words for the 26th Street Fight era.
Oh,
Yeah, give me the fourth because I know that's going to be. I'm going to be talking about that
that
a lot the next.
that was really digging in my brain.
Yeah, I knew that. I knew that. We were talking
The
about
revolution started. Now it's time for, just like the show says, an era of a new king. And I'm pretty sure, whether the fans want to admit it, whether our opponents want to admit it, hell, whether God wants to admit it, what's going on right now isn't changing. And just because we have to go out there and beat them like some dogs in the street, it doesn't affect anything. Eric has the company, and when it comes to the street fight, it's just going to be nothing but a bloodbath.
Nothing but a bloodbath. You know, there's a song called "Nothing But a Good Time" from the group Poison. But it sounds like right now, if
We're rewriting it.
If Michael Bates gets his way, it's going to be nothing but a blood time. And that blood time is going to come at the expense of Baller, Kid Mike, Van Hansen, and Mr. Anton Nathan. And you're going to see this here coming up on April the 26th, the main event of Enterprise and Amplified Pro Wrestling's most recent show. It'll be called Era of a New King, and it's going to take place in the McConnellsburg Elementary School, 151 East Cherry Street in beautiful McConnellsburg, Pennsylvania. Tickets are only $20. Door time is at 5 o'clock. The door is open. Bell time is at 6 o'clock. You will most certainly want to check this out. We'll be talking about this quite a bit, and I have no doubt that Kid Mike, Van Hansen, Ball, and Anton Nathan will have plenty to say about this. And Balla, apparently somebody on his behalf, is also wanted next month for his career to go on the line for that hardcore championship that Michael Bates has held on for nearly a year. So you have a lot to ponder.
Speaking of that,
yes, sir.
You know, it's a hardcore championship, and I'm sitting here thinking about a lot of things. We mainly just see a normal, good old-fashioned hardcore match, don't we? That's mainly what we see nowadays. So generic and repetitive.
Pretty much.
Know, with me and Balla for the title versus career match, why don't we take it a step further? Why don't I take a little note out of my dad's book? Let's do a fans bring the weapons match. I think we should pop it up a little bit. Let's see if all of your little Let's see if all of his little friends and fans can actually bring him something decent.
You sure you want to give, though, from your vantage point, your opponent that potential opportunity to have an advantage over you? Are you sure?
No matter what's there, I'm just going to wrap it around his head. Whether it's a chair, a cane, hell, bring the kitchen sink, and I'll sink him.
Well, yeah, somebody would actually do that, knowing wrestling fans. But
that's why I love hardcore. You always get something new. You always.
Balla seems to be. Well, Balla is here, and Balla is all in. And maybe I need to get Balla on this platform and hear Balla's side of the story. Maybe
I think we just made a main event. I feel like we just made a show stealer right there.
Well, I tell you what, it's listen. We're going to be off the air in a few minutes, in a little while. That's going to go up on social media. There it is. That's the clip. That's the post. That's the message. And if the powers that be, namely Mr. X Black and maybe Mrs. Raina Black, if they agree, well, you could be seeing that match next month, and we're going to be talking about it. And I would certainly want to talk with Mr. Balla himself about it. So, yeah, I mean, that's could be. There you go. Who would have guessed? We come on the air and we got a potential match in the offering. You just never know, and it's going to be more hardcore than anything we've seen in Enterprise and Amplified to date. We're talking with the hardcore champion himself, who's been a hardcore champion for almost a year. So there you have it. I mean, that's just, a really fascinating thing, and I'm excited about it. You're excited about it, and we'll see if it happens. Only time will tell, and it's also, oh, by the way, Michael Bates Day. Yeah, you're in the Bates Motel, and it's his day today. So there you go, and we'll give him a visit.
I'm going to need that frame so I can put it right under the sign.
Well, all right. Well, Mr. Hansen has his things I've given him over the years also in a plaque or in a case. So if Mr. Hansen has them, in a protection, one of those things you put into a piece of paper, then you could probably do the same thing. So yeah, and a bunch of other people. I think James Taylor's got a few of these things also. He's got them. So yeah, you might as well. And we'll have to find out. But I know you're a busy man, so let me pass the baton to you. I'm going to put your Instagram up here one more time. So if you have any closing thoughts, anything else you want to plug, share, or say, I'm going to give you that opportunity, champ, now, and fire away.
I'm not gonna go on a long spill, but what I am gonna say is
Okay,
go
your
out
closing thoughts.
and
You can say
support indie wrestling, whether
it.
it's
Amen.
local small shows, big shows, just anytime. It don't have to be something on TV. Go out and enjoy a local show, and most of all, support hardcore. It's a dying art. We're bringing it back slowly.
No, you know what? You're in luck because I've had on a lot of the hardcore wrestlers have been here. Mikey Anarchy's been here. I've had Jimmy Controversy many times. I've had Obey. I've had Jesse Daniels who wrestled Mickey Knuckles. I've had Tarzan Duran on here. I mean, I've had Kato on here several times. I've had on Brian White, the Deathmatch Juggalo. So I've had on a lot of hardcore wrestlers. Radu Bulat in the UK, Necro Daddy in the UK. So I've had on a lot of hardcore wrestlers. Gabe Sayers, who's in the hardcore scene, Jake Dvorak. So yeah, I get a lot of them on. So yeah, I'm all Wrestling Matters. I support it. I definitely want more people to support it. Definitely go out and check it out. Yeah, he's got a cool bike. And I did want to say before we go out there, yeah, definitely Dimebag was one of my favorites. And when Dimebag died, my dad, who was a drummer when he was alive, went out and bought Dimebag's signature guitar. He actually went out and said, "Oh, he was so teared up about it that he bought his guitar." And who would have known? About 20 years later, I interviewed Doug Pinnick, who basically his band King's X grew up with Pantera. Basically, they came up together in Dallas, Texas, and what a small world. But enough of that. Go follow Mr. Bates on Instagram. Check out Enterprise and Amplified Wrestling on their social media pages. And Champ, looking forward to seeing you back here next month. We got a lot to talk about. Maybe
Yeah,
some of this, with Mr. Baller, and we'll have to see what he has to say, and a number of different things. And thank you for your time. And
thank you for having me.
I'm really excited about the 12th and especially the 26th because I'm going to be talking a lot about that in McConnellsburg. I have no doubt about that. So,
It's going to be a good show. It's good. I mean, it's
I
going
always
to
love
be
that surprise.
Hatfields and McCoy type of war. It's just two people that hate each other and just coming out to just beat and just go as far
And
as
I
we
can't
can.
wait to hear what Hanson, Mike, and Anton. I spoke to Anton a few weeks ago. We were actually talking about him coming on. So now I'm going to definitely get his opinions on what you said. So yeah, that's going to make for quite a conversation. But that was Mr. Michael Bates. We're in the Bates Motel. He's the Enterprise and Amplified Pro Wrestling's hardcore champion. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice, figuratively and literally, where all wrestling matters. We'll be back here tomorrow night on Sportzwire Radio. Stay tuned for more details on that. If you're here and you followed us, thank you so much for your support. Like, share, and hit the sub button for us. Also support Enterprise Amplified and also Mr. Bates. And also, please support all of the independent wrestling companies that come on here. We're very honored to have donated a ticket to Pro Wrestling XX, and we did it for the last Enterprise and Amplified show. We'll do it again for this one here coming up. And until then, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the number one Global radio station that is Sportswire Radio, where all wrestling matters.